This is Carl Eller, and you're watching the One Bar and Lupagus show.
All right, welcome back to the One Bar and Lupagus show. I am Lupagus, and today we're going to talk about 5 Minnesota Vikings could be traded at the deadline today. 5 Vikings who could be on their way out. Before we hop into the 5 Vikings who could be on their way out, remember this video is brought to you by WinView Games, the nation's sports prediction leader and home for Minnesota Vikings pregame and live prop contests. I know all of you live and breathe Minnesota Vikings football, so put your Vikings knowledge to the test. Download the WinView app right there. Boom. Do it. What are you waiting for? Play against other Vikings fans in live, free, or real money contest. Your first $100 is risk-free. It's being matched. So, again, see who is the king of the Vikings week in and every week out. There is new contest every single week till the end of the season. I know it's the app for you guys. You haven't got it yet. Be sure to check it out. That's WinView Games. All right. Let's do it. Let's talk about 5 Vikings who could be on their way out. And realistically, will the Vikings make a move? We already talked about it. Probably not. But in case they do, these are 5 guys who could be dealt. I left Kirk Cousins off this list because, to me, Kirk Cousins is a guy who, at this point, I don't think there's a real serious contender who needs a quarterback, who is a quarterback away, who would make the deal for Kirk Cousins right now. I think that's more of a team that's looking for a quarterback at the beginning of the season, in the offseason, that can be their quarterback. So I don't see him getting dealt tomorrow at all. Really, most of these names on these lists probably won't get dealt, but it's fun to talk about anyway. It's fun to speculate. So we're going to go ahead and do it. Let's start with Sheldon Richardson, our defensive tackle, who really the Vikings, they're just not using this guy. He's got 11 tackles on the season. You just don't see him out there very often, not really being used from a pass rushing standpoint. Maybe now with Daniel Hunter, there was talk they're going to toy with him and maybe move him to end. We haven't seen much of that yet. Maybe they'll try it now, but if not, why not try to get something for Sheldon Richardson? He's still a pretty big name out there. He's a good penetrating defensive tackle. There's definitely teams that could use him. So maybe the Vikings can, get something in return, maybe something around the 4th, 5th round range for Richardson. Try to get something back for that Chris Herndon deal that they kind of wasted a pick on. So Sheldon Richardson, definitely a name that could be moved tomorrow. There's plenty of depth there. Armon Watts, Michael Pierce is coming back. You got Delvin Tomlinson. You got the Ginger Snap, who's been playing better and getting in there more and more. So I think there is room on this roster to survive without Richardson. So that if he was shipped, that would, he's probably one of the more realistic ones that I'm naming here today. Another guy that you can move on from, the Vikings could definitely move on from, is the linebacker Anthony Barr. He's come back in the lineup. Has the defense gotten a whole heck of a lot better? No, not really. He had the big miss on the tackle on Elliott last night. That really would have, it would have saved the game, would have made them force them to kick a field goal. And who knows what happens in overtime. Maybe the result would be different. Maybe it wouldn't be, but Anthony Barr has to make that tackle. He did not do that. He's on a 1-year contract. He's probably gone at the end of the year anyway. Zimmer's gone. Him and Barr kind of tied at the hip, being the first draft pick of the Zimmer era. So I believe Anthony Barr could be moved. 14 tackles on the season, 2 passes defensed, a fumble recovery. If some team is, looking to add him instead of having to get in a bidding war in the offseason, which probably isn't going to be a huge one, go ahead and get him in now, and they can look to re-sign and extend his contract on their own, not have to worry about other teams getting in there. So Anthony Barr, definitely somebody who could be moved tomorrow. Another guy who could be moved, Everson Griffin, and this is probably slim from a Vikings standpoint just because they're so thin at defensive end. You traded Stephen Redley 2 weeks ago. Now you lose Daniel Hunter for the season with his torn pectoral muscle. The only way this happens is the Vikings say, screw it, we're going youth movement. We want to see everything we can from DJ Wanham, everything we can from Patrick Jones, everything we can from Kenny Wilkes, so we know what we have on this roster as we move on. And again, I think if we do move Griffin, then you're going to see Sheldon Richardson play some defensive end for this team. I think you almost have to. Again, this one would be, teams would definitely be interested in Griffin because he's played so damn well this year. He's got 5 sacks. So teams that need some help on defense, who are in the mix, who are in the playoff hunt, looking to bolster their pass rush, could definitely look to acquire the services of Everson Griffin. I think the Vikings would probably hold out for a better deal than most would expect they get, just because they need him right now and he's playing at a high level. So Griffin, again, a guy who could be on a new team again, but we'll see what happens there. And I got 2 left here. Next one, Alexander Madison, the running back. Again, another situation where he's just not getting used much. He gets a play here, he gets a play there. He gets a draw on 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 20, whatever it is. He'll get through a few passes thrown his way. But again, not a guy who's getting 6 to 8 touches a game consistently. He's the backup. He comes in if Cook is down. And I think the Vikings have guys now who can come in and fill that role. Kenny Ngwang is healthy. He's ready to go. And you got AJ Rose sitting on the practice squad. Yes, he's young and he's unproven, but he did show he's got some burst. He's got some wiggle. He's got some power when he runs. He showed that in speed in the preseason. So I think if you had to rely on those two, especially for as little as they use Madison, those two guys could fill that role. So Madison, you look at the Titans, Derrick Henry goes down, maybe they're looking for a back, could be in the market, definitely a team that's in the hunt, arguably right now the best team in the AFC. Want to get that roster fleshed out with a running back they can rely on. They could definitely look at Alexander Madison from the Vikings. So he's one to really keep an eye on, kind of one of the hot names on this list. Madison, will he be on the move? Will he still be a Viking at the end of the day? Who knows? Stay tuned. And the last guy, and this is because his agent was buzzing last night on Twitter, making some ominous comments. Wide receiver Adam Thielen. Is he getting frustrated? I think he has to be. He's getting targeted early in games and then forgotten about. He's one of the most explosive weapons on this offense. He's just not being used, especially after the first drive against the Cowboys. I mean, they didn't really throw his way. They didn't go long. He's wide open. And what does Cousins do? He checks it down to CJ Ham, who has 2 linebackers on him, and he's throwing for a 2-yard loss. It's very head scratching. I think Thielen's getting very frustrated. And you look at teams out there that maybe need some help at wide receiver. The one that comes to mind, I know they're only 4-4 with the Patriots. If they think they got a shot to unseat the Bills in the East, they're going to need a veteran wide receiver that they can rely on. Adam Thielen just kind of screams a Bill Belichick type of player, a smart route runner, knows how to get open, knows how to score. Seems like a Belichick type of player. But I don't know. Again, I doubt that would happen. I think, the Vikings would want a pretty sweet return for Adam Thielen. I know he's 30 years old, but, he's got 43 receptions, 471 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So the Vikings would want a pretty damn high pick for him. How high they could get, I'm not sure for a 30-year-old wide receiver, but God, it's got to be. I think they wouldn't go for anything less than a second rounder. I don't think any Vikings fans would want to see him leave town for a second rounder, but we'll see. It's definitely a situation worth monitoring, and something, just the fact that his agent was on Twitter buzzing and chirping and making a little bit of noise is interesting, to say the least. So there it is, 5 minutes with the Vikings, who could be dealt at the deadline. Will it happen? I don't know. The Vikings front office has to decide, are they going to try to stick and roll and see this thing through, or are they going to start blowing this thing up, acquiring draft capital to try to rebuild? Because I'm sure a new coach is coming at the end of the year. That almost seems inevitable at this point. So they got to decide, and now's the time to do it, to the trade deadline is this afternoon. So, all right, that's it. Again, guys, don't forget to check out WinView Games. Hop on the Patreon if you haven't done that yet. Sign up for that, $2 a month. And always remember this: keep your skull in your hole.